We are quickly approaching the 2-week mark for this partial government shutdown, and among the federal employees caught up in the mess are scientists whose work is key to fishing seasons right here on the West Coast.
And when we get shut down, it's a significant thing. It has significant impacts.
It's been a mild winter so far, but a storm's heading our way and could drop up to a foot of snow in the mountain passes, and we could wake up to some freezing rain here in Spokane. The Storm Tracker 2 team is all over it. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
It's good to have you with us tonight. I'm Whitney Ward. 2 days into the new year, it's been pretty calm so far. Right now, though, we are tracking a winter weather advisory getting underway here in the next few hours. Meteorologist Tom Sherry keeping an eye on everything for us tonight, right, Tom?
Yeah, we are, and it looks like the rain will move in just in time, or the rain or freezing rain will move in just in time for your morning commute. Everywhere you see shaded in purple, that includes Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. That's a winter weather advisory in effect from 4 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. Now, I think when we'll see the frozen precipitation here in Spokane, it's pretty much from 4 a.m. till about 9 a.m. But the mountains above 3,000 feet could pick up a good dose of snow, many, many inches of snow falling up in the higher elevations. The passes could be very difficult. We've had snow falling pretty much all night long in a very small section up around Bonner and Boundary County in northern Idaho. You see all that wet weather on the west side of the state. That's headed our way. So we'll look for temperatures to drop down to about 31. At 7 in the morning, I look for wet snow and rain or freezing rain. Temperature of about 33 degrees. It'll quickly change over to rain, though, as we look for a daytime high of 39, and we should see most of the precipitation taper off by the time we get to about 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So here's how it goes for the weekend. More of the same. We'll look for showers to redevelop either rain, snow late Saturday night into Sunday, but both daytime highs for the weekend will be in the upper 30s. I'll check that 10-day forecast for you coming up in a few minutes.
Sounds good, Tom. We'll talk to you then. Spokane's downtown New Year's Eve celebration went off without a hitch, but it left some people wanting more, specifically when it came to the fireworks show, which was held at 9 o'clock instead of midnight. The city took over the New Year's Eve celebration in Riverfront Park since first night was canceled.
So the city put on a really nice show. The only problem is it only lasted about 2 minutes. And a lot of people online were expressing disappointment, saying it just wasn't enough. So why was it so short? KREM 2's Alexa Block explains that it all comes down to dollars and cents.
It was loud, bright, and colorful. Everything you'd expect from a fireworks show on New Year's Eve. Except one thing. A few more minutes of it. At least that's what some people have said online about the 2-minute fireworks show at Riverfront Park. The city's Parks and Rec department took over the New Year's Eve celebration downtown and the expense for the fireworks show after first night was canceled. The city spent $3,000 to put on the 2-minute display. The city wanted as much bang for their buck as possible, opting for a big finale type show, opposed to a display with a lot of buildup. A city spokesperson said a minute of fireworks cost about $1,000. In the past, first night Spokane paid for the fireworks. To give you an idea of how much it can cost to put on a major fireworks show, each year the city of Spokane budgets about $17,000 for the 4th of July fireworks. The 4th of July fireworks show in Coeur d'Alene cost about $23,000 for an 18-minute show. The city of Spokane estimates about 1,200 people actually went to watch the fireworks this New Year's Eve. The city spokesperson says they really just wanted to make sure the community had some way of ringing in the new year. As of how the year 2020 will be welcomed, that is still up in the air. Alexa Block, KREM 2 News.
Hey, 2 minutes is 2 minutes, right?
It's better than nothing.
I thought it looked pretty.
It did,
for 2 minutes.
for those 2 minutes.
Yeah, all right. Also, with the start of the new year, several new laws taking effect here in Washington, and that includes the gun control measure, I-1639.
There are several new elements to that law, including that 10-day waiting period, a safety training course, and enhanced background checks. Those will go into effect this summer.
But the one that took effect immediately has to do with age requirements. So you now have to be 21 years old to buy a semi-automatic rifle. And with that regulation in place, one manager of a local gun shop told KREM 2 they would actually like some more guidance from the Department of Licensing on how to make sure they're following the rules.
So right now we have not had direction from the state of Washington to tell us who we can and cannot sell semi-automatic rifles to. When we have a lot more of these that are going to go into effect, we hope they're a little bit more organized and making sure that they're streamlining information out to us as dealers, just so that we can make sure that we're staying in compliance with Washington state regulations.
Now, we did reach out to the Department of Licensing, and they told us they act more like a record keeper, not actual enforcement. They say gun shops that have questions should actually contact local police. Well, the search continues for whoever killed 3 people in their home over on the west side on Monday. A father, son, and young girlfriend were found murdered on New Year's Eve in Port Angeles.
Police identified the victims as Daryl Iverson, his son Jordan, and Jordan's 26-year-old girlfriend Tiffany May. Investigators say all 3 of the victims were shot multiple times. The father and son had left with tarps covering them. The girlfriend was discovered in a shed. Police say this house was not on their radar and that none of the victims had serious criminal records. The property is described by authorities as a crash pad where people, some of them homeless, would stay for a while. One family friend said some, quote, very questionable people had spent time there, and police are now looking for them.
Our goal is to recreate that moment in time in which the people were murdered. And to do that, we have to get as much information as we can, whether it be physical evidence or statements from people who may know any type of a motive why this has happened.
The sheriff's office also says it appears the victims were killed by someone they knew. It is now day 12 of the partial government shutdown. Today, there was some hope for some movement toward potential negotiations. President Donald Trump asked congressional leaders from both parties to attend a briefing on border security at the White House.
Now, both sides still at odds over funding for that border wall. It's expected to stay going on until at least Friday. About 800,000 federal workers still working right now without pay until after a deal can be struck. Others are just on indefinite furlough. The American Federation of Government Employees has now filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration, arguing that it's actually against the law to require someone to work without pay. That union, by the way, is the largest of its kind, representing federal employees.
Today, the Smithsonian Museums and Zoo closed their doors after running out of money. As for what's ahead, more negotiations. Democrats will gain a little more leverage tomorrow. That's when they take control of the House, once all the newly elected lawmakers are officially sworn in.
And tonight, the shutdown has scientists nationwide locked out of their labs.
Many of them study fish, work that is central to fishing seasons along the West Coast. Environmental reporter Allison Morrow with our sister station in Seattle heard from 2 of those scientists about the impact they're seeing.
I love my U.S. federal job at NOAA Fish, Northwest Fisheries Science Center, but it's immensely frustrating to have #shutdown be such a common disturbance.
You know, I'm not a avid tweeter you know, I don't have a whole lot of followers, but for the people who are out there who do, you know, pay attention to what I say, you know, I am frustrated by the conditions here.
Ian Taylor, a federal stock assessment scientist based in Seattle, works here at a NOAA facility with a now closed entrance gate and a sign saying the closure is due to the government shutdown. It's filled with offices of scientists working on research that ranges from toxic algae to whales to analysis that sets fishing seasons, like Taylor's work.
That management depends on the science that we're not being allowed to do right now.
He helps set the amount of Pacific hake allowed for catch, a fish that's very popular. Hundreds of thousands of tons are caught each year. Taylor and his colleagues estimate how many hake are alive and how many can be sustainably taken.
And when we get shut down, it's a significant thing. It has significant impacts, not just locally, but it can have significant impacts globally.
Jason Cope is a research fishery biologist who works in the same closed-down office building. He says the work they've done over the last decade has helped restore disappearing fish populations and reopened fishing opportunities that had closed.
These are all wonderful things that came from this. And so to let people know that when we get shut down, it does matter. Any part of the community that depends on these fisheries for their local subsistence or appreciation or recreation are going to be affected by the work that we do here.
The next hake fishery report is due in a few weeks. They partner with Canada, whose scientists are now doing the work alone, but without all the data from the entire U.S. West Coast. In Seattle, I'm Allison Morrow.
It's also impacting visitors here in the West Coast. In fact, tourists at some of the West's most iconic national parks are describing the atmosphere as less than beautiful. One visitor to Yosemite even called it a free-for-all.
So people who went out to Mount Rainier National Park today reported that for the most part they didn't see any overflowing garbages and unkept restrooms. However, there are limited services out there as the government completes its 12th day now of being partially shut down. Contracted services like retail, hotel, and restaurants are still open outside from the visitor center. You are also able to drive up the Nisqually entrance to Longmire.
How it affected us is that the road is closed at this point, so you can't access Paradise. And during the holiday season, we would have had the Jackson Visitor Center open.
So the shutdown has left a lot of parks without most of the rangers and staff that preserve those campgrounds and keep them clean and operating. Unlike shutdowns in the past, the Trump administration has been leaving the parks open to visitors despite not having any staff there.
Still ahead tonight, it is a story that'll warm your heart. Crews from fire departments across the inland Northwest stepped up to man stations in Post Falls so staff members there could attend a memorial service for the daughter of one of their own.